name is Cecile Zeigler. I want to welcome you to Lunch and Learn today. My topic is the latte factor. How many of you find it challenging to start your day without a cup of coffee? Okay, we got some coffee addicts. How many of you find it difficult to pass up the latest shoe sale? That's mine. I noticed the women's hand go up. So what is your weakness? I've got a couple of weaknesses up here. It could be fast food, it could be cigarettes, music, games, all sorts of things. So for you coffee lovers, think about this past week. How many of you stopped at a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donut? Okay. Whether it's coffee, shoes, whatever your weakness is, you need to take inventory of where your money is going on a daily basis. That's the reason I'm sharing this topic with you today, is because I've seen my nest egg dwindle with the economy and want to have a better grasp of what I need to do. If I were to tell you you could take the money it costs to buy a coffee and put it in our company 401k, by the time you turn 65, you could have $1 million. That's $5 a day, and with about a 10% yield, you could have $1 million. So before we can become millionaires, we must understand where our money's going and how we're going to manage our finances. So first, I want us to identify areas of frivolous spending through the latte factor. Then secondly, I want to talk about how to save and invest that money. And then finally, we're going to learn from the experts or the millionaires themselves on how they were successful in saving. How many of you are familiar with the latte factor? Ever heard of it? No? Well, this past year there were 200,000 hits on Google on the latte factor. And basically it's a concept that was created by David Bach. David Bach is a New York Times bestseller. He's had several books on finances and how to manage them. And he really says it best, so I'm going to quote him. He says, "The latte factor is the ultimate metaphor for how we spend money. It shows us the small ways we spend daily on little things like fancy coffees and bottled water can literally add up to a fortune. You need to weigh your options." So let's get started. First, I don't want you to change any of your spending habits, all right? When you leave here today for an entire week, I want you to write down every penny you spend. Next, I want you to look for this pointless spending trends. When you see those trends, add them up and see what your potential savings could be. Then lastly, be realistic. Find one trend that you feel comfortable in giving up. Now let's look at what we can do with all that money. There are many ways to save and invest. And the first is, I want to point out, I thought this was kind of cute. I want this piggy bank over here. This one looks really pathetic. But there's many ways to invest and save. First, the company 401k. I mean, why wouldn't you want to invest in the why wouldn't you want to invest in the company 401k when they're willing to give you money for free? The way it works for us is the first 3%, they match at 100%. The second percent is done at 50%. So with a yield of about 4%. Great, no-brainer, something we should all be doing. The next area that the experts recommend we do is an emergency fund. They recommend that we have up to 6 months of our income set aside for a rainy day. It's kind of, for me, it's the out of sight, out of mind, so I use a direct deposit into a savings account. Do a little bit at a time and then it won't seem overwhelming. Another option to consider is investing in an IRA. One like a Roth IRA. These offer additional tax benefits on top of your retirement savings. I'm not an expert, so I encourage you to speak to a financial advisor. You can invest up to $5,000 annually, and that's if you're under 50. If you're over 50, it's $6,000. It's called the catch-up for us folks that are getting closer to retirement. So, if you want to be a millionaire, let's look at how millionaires live. How do you identify a millionaire? Can you spot a millionaire up here? Anybody want to try to give it a chance?
Is that Bill Gates in the bottom right?
Yes, that is Bill Gates in his younger years. Anybody else? Chris?
Looks like Warren Buffett in the upper left.
It is Warren Buffett. You probably won't recognize some of the other folks. There's a couple of consultants. This young kid up here is Facebook. These two guys did YouTube. This lady sold insurance to trucking companies, and this lady created Airborne, which is that medication you're supposed to drink before you get on the plane so you don't get sick. In the book titled The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley, he provides 7 factors that were common amongst most millionaires. We're going to talk about 3 of them today. The first tip is they live well below their means. This is my grandfather, and normally my grandfather dressed very casually. You would never ever see him in a suit. In fact, the first time I saw this picture, I was astounded. This was his board. He was the director of a board of a bank in Texas, and that was his board picture, but you'd never see him like that. When it comes to cars, the book points out that they drive standard type of cars, not luxury cars. And that was true with my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather drove a truck that was 20 years old. My grandmother drove what we called we call it the rocket bomb. It was a big old white Oldsmobile. It was very embarrassing as a kid when she picked me up at school. As far as their house, they live in modest, median income neighborhoods. We have a rep that calls on us here, and he happened to be Warren Buffett's newspaper boy, and he said Warren Buffett lives in just a regular old neighborhood, and he still lives there today. As far as clothes, they wear off-the-rack clothes, not designer or tailored clothes like you see the celebrities wear on the red carpet. The second tip is that they allocate their time, their energy, and their money efficiently, and they do it in ways conducive to building wealth. So for me, what that means is that they realize that their money is more important to set it aside versus going out and spending it. And the last tip I have to share with you all is that financial independence is more important to millionaires than displaying high social status. They are frugal, frugal, frugal. Not cheap, but frugal. There's a difference. They're willing to give a lot of their money to charities and things that they believe in. So, right now you all are in the prime of your lives. Do you want to be working when you're 70 years old? And no offense, I put this Walmart greeter on here because a lot of people joke about how old they are and they have to work and that sort of thing. So right now, the big question for you all is, do you want to start building your nest egg, or do you want to be working when you're 70, or you're going to let a cup of coffee get in your way? That's the end of my presentation. I would be glad to answer any questions. Audrey.
About the Roth IRAs, so that the limit or maximum that you could put into it is $5,000. Now, if your husband and if me and my husband were both participating in it, could we both put $5,000?
Yeah, it is my understanding that each of you are able to contribute $5,000 apiece.
Okay.
Any other questions? Chris?
Where would you recommend we put the money we set aside?
Well, really the two key ones are the 401k, the company. Like I said, why wouldn't you? I mean, the company's giving you free money. And the other one is to save for a rainy day. With this economic environment, you never know when, you might need a little set aside for some reason. So, any other questions? Well, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.